Right now, beneath your pristine lawn, there is a literal war going on.
Yeah, that sounds dramatic, but it's really true.
And every time you clean your bathroom, you are actively arming the wrong side.
Exactly. We don't think about it.
Right. We tend to operate under this like blissful assumption that our plumbing is basically magic. You flush a toilet or drain a tub or run the dishwasher, and all that waste just sort of disappears into the ether.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly. Until inevitably it isn't. Until a slow drain or some foul odor seeping into the yard or, heaven forbid, an unsanitary catastrophic backup turns what is basically an entirely invisible system into an incredibly expensive nightmare.
And I mean, it represents one of the most disruptive things that can happen to a homeowner
Oh, absolutely.
because we treat these systems like passive mechanical vaults, just waiting to be emptied, which fundamentally misunderstands the active biological processes happening underground.
And uncovering that hidden biology is our entire mission today. We are diving deep into the SEPTIFIX guide to beneficial septic bacteria.
It's a fascinating guide.
It really is. Our goal here is to shed light on this microscopic, completely unseen workforce that actually dictates the health and longevity of your home's entire underground waste management environment. So, okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
The core premise of the guide is that a septic system is not just a concrete box buried in the dirt. It is a highly active, living ecosystem, a bioreactor, essentially.
A bioreactor is the perfect word for it.
And we, sitting comfortably in our houses above it, are directly impacting its health every single day without even realizing it.
Yeah. And to appreciate why that ecosystem collapses, we first have to look at the mechanics of how it operates in its natural state.
Right, before we break it, how does it work?
Exactly. When we use the term septic system, we are talking about a localized underground waste treatment facility. And the physics of that process are actually pretty incredible.
Walk us through it.
Well, when wastewater leaves your house, it travels through a main line and enters the primary septic tank. At that point, gravity and fluid dynamics just take over. They separate the incoming waste into 3 very distinct layers based entirely on density.
Similar to how, like, a bottle of oil and vinegar dressing naturally separates out on the kitchen counter if you just leave alone.
That is the exact principle at work, yeah. Inside the tank, the lightest materials, primarily your cooking oils, fats, and soap scum, they float right to the top to form what is known as the scum layer.
Gross, but okay.
Right. Conversely, the heaviest organic materials sink straight to the bottom, consolidating into this really dense sludge layer.
Okay, so we've got scum on top, sludge on the bottom.
Exactly. And trapped directly between that floating grease and the sunken sludge is a middle layer of relatively clear liquid wastewater, which is referred to as the effluent.
And the source material is really adamant about one structural rule here, right? That middle liquid layer is the only thing that is ever supposed to leave the tank.
The entire architecture of the system depends on that rule. That middle liquid portion is designed to eventually flow out of the tank and into the drain field.
And the drain field is basically the yard out back.
Yeah, it's a network of perforated pipes buried in gravel trenches. And that allows the liquid to slowly percolate into the surrounding soil for its final natural filtration.
Got it.
But the crucial vulnerability of this whole design is that the heavy solids sitting at the bottom of the tank, that sludge layer, it must be continuously broken down.
Because if it's not,
If it remains entirely intact, those solids simply pile up. They take up the physical volume of the tank until there is literally no room left for the liquid layer.
which brings us to the actual heroes of our deep dive. Because the concrete tank itself isn't digesting anything.
Right, it's just a container.
The real heavy lifting is done by the beneficial bacteria living inside it. The guide describes them as this tireless, round-the-clock cleanup crew.
They really are. These are billions of microscopic organisms that thrive in the dark, naturally oxygen-depleted environment of the tank.
They just live in the dark and eat.
That's their sole function, to consume the complex organic waste that flows down the pipes. They secrete enzymes that physically chop up complex polymers, things like the cellulose and toilet paper proteins and fats, into much simpler monomers.
So it's eating human waste, obviously, but the guide points out it's breaking down everything organic, like food particles from the garbage disposal, dead skin cells from the shower, grease residues.
Working.
Reading this made me immediately think of the human digestive system. A septic tank is quite literally a giant concrete stomach for your house.
I love that analogy.
Because if your own stomach doesn't have the right gut flora, the necessary microbiome to process your food, you get bloated, you feel terrible, and things just stop moving properly.
Yep.
And the house's stomach operates on the exact same biological imperative. It needs to digest its food to function. These tiny organisms are the only things reducing that sludge accumulation,
Right.
minimizing the foul odors, and keeping the wastewater flowing smoothly out into the yard.
That analogy holds up perfectly under biological scrutiny. What's fascinating here is without this unseen workforce, you no longer have a treatment facility. You just have a rapidly filling trash can.
Wow, yeah.
The sludge level rises, the space for the liquid shrinks, and the processing efficiency of the entire system drops to absolute zero.
And knowing how much water a standard family uses in a single day, a rapidly filling trash can, is a terrifying concept.
It's a disaster waiting to happen.
So if these bacteria are so perfectly adapted to thrive in this environment and digest our waste, why do these underground ecosystems fail so frequently?
Well, the failure is almost entirely human-driven.
Of course it is.
It always is, right? Our modern household routines, particularly our obsession with sanitation, are inadvertently waging a biological war against the very organisms trying to keep our plumbing functional.
So we're killing the good guys.
Exactly. The guide outlines several major disruptors that homeowners routinely introduce to their systems.
Let's group these, rather than just listing off the bad habits. Because it seems like our modern obsession with hygiene is actually backfiring underground. We are essentially sending down chemical weapons on a daily basis.
Chemical weapons is a good way to put it.
The guide points fingers heavily at household cleaners. Heavy bleach products, foaming drain clears, harsh disinfectants.
Just think about the design intent of those products for a second. A heavy-duty antibacterial bathroom cleaner is chemically engineered with one specific purpose:
To kill bacteria.
to eradicate bacteria on contact, period. When you scrub your shower or pour a bottle of drain cleaner down the sink, those chemicals don't just deactivate once they pass the drain grate.
They just keep going.
Right into the septic tank, where they absolutely cannot distinguish between the harmful pathogens you wiped off your tile and the highly beneficial bacteria your tank desperately needs to function.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a single heavy application of industrial bleach can decimate a bacterial colony that took months to establish.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. The massive cognitive dissonance of modern homeownership.
How do you mean?
Well, the exact products we purchase to keep our homes smelling fresh and sanitary are the very things actively destroying our home's ability to safely process its own waste. We are literally sterilizing the stomach of the house.
That's a profound way to look at it, but it's completely accurate.
And it isn't just the cleaning aisle doing the damage either. The guide highlights another massive biological weapon we send down the pipes: prescription medications.
Antibiotics are particularly devastating in this environment.
Because they're doing exactly what they're supposed to do.
Right. Whether they enter the system metabolically, through human waste, or are irresponsibly flushed down the toilet as unused pills, their function remains the same. They are designed to seek out and eliminate bacteria.
So they just wipe out the tank.
When introduced into a septic bioreactor, they effectively perform a scorched earth campaign against the tank's workforce.
Okay, so we nuke the ecosystem with bleach, and then we finish off the survivors with antibiotics. That makes perfect sense as a biological threat. But the guide also mentions water volume itself as a major disruptor, which feels completely counterintuitive.
It does sound strange at first.
How does just taking a really long shower or doing extra laundry actually hurt bacteria? They live in water.
It comes down to fluid dynamics and a concept called retention time.
Retention time, okay.
Yeah. Your septic tank is a container with a fixed volume. Let's say it's 1,000 gallons. For bacteria to properly digest incoming waste, that waste needs to remain in the tank for a specific duration.
It needs time to actually eat it.
Precisely. If you introduce massive volumes of water too quickly, for example, running the dishwasher, doing 3 back-to-back loads of laundry, and having 2 people shower simultaneously, you drastically alter the hydraulic load.
You're basically creating a massive current inside the tank.
That sudden influx of water creates immense turbulence. It churns up those carefully separated layers of scum, liquid, and sludge we discussed earlier.
Oh, so it mixes all back together.
Yes. And more critically, it flushes the raw, undigested waste straight through the system and out into the drain field before the bacteria have even had a chance to begin the enzymatic breakdown process.
That makes so much sense. So you aren't necessarily killing the bacteria with water?
No, you are physically washing their food away, and you're pushing hazardous solids into a delicate filtration area that was never designed to handle them.
And that leads right into the final disruptor: improper waste disposal. Throwing things down the drain that are physically impossible for the bacteria to eat in the first place.
The dreaded flushables.
Yes. The guide specifically calls out flushable wipes, paper towels, feminine hygiene products, and large quantities of cooking fats.
They're a nightmare for these systems.
Because these synthetic or highly complex materials just sit there, right? Taking up physical real estate in the tank, completely immune to biological breakdown.
Exactly.
So, if we are poisoning the tank with chemicals, flushing away the waste too fast, and throwing in synthetic materials that create a physical barricade, what does the failure actually look like? Because, there isn't a check engine light for a septic tank.
No, there isn't. And the absence of an immediate warning system is the true danger here. The decline of the bacterial colony isn't some sudden explosive event. It's a gradual, insidious snowball effect.
It sneaks up on you.
By the time mechanical symptoms actually manifest inside the house, the biological failure has usually been progressing for months, if not years.
The guide details a specific progression of warning signs, and the earliest indicator of a dying tank seems to be persistent foul odors.
Yeah.
But why does a lack of bacteria suddenly make the yard smell like sulfur?
Well, under healthy conditions, beneficial bacteria digest waste relatively cleanly, but as the population of good bacteria drops, the organic waste doesn't just sit there inertly, it begins to rot.
It putrefies.
Yes, it putrefies inefficiently. And this incomplete, stalled decomposition produces high concentrations of noxious gases, specifically hydrogen sulfide and methane.
Oh, okay.
That's when you start noticing that distinct sewage or rotten egg smell lingering around your ground floor drains, your toilets, or just hovering over the lawn where the tank is buried.
It's essentially the chemical exhaust of a failing biological engine.
That's a great way to describe it.
And if you ignore that smell, the physical consequences start piling up inside the tank. With fewer bacteria working, the sludge layer at the bottom grows thicker and thicker.
Right.
As that dense physical waste takes up more volume, the available space for the liquid wastewater shrinks.
Which creates widespread sluggishness throughout the plumbing. Because the tank is functionally overfull of solids, the water trying to exit your home's pipes faces resistance.
Has nowhere to go.
Exactly. You'll notice the bathtub taking 10 minutes to drain, or the kitchen sink backing up slightly while the washing machine is running. It becomes a systemic issue of slow drainage, not just an isolated pipe clog.
And as that sludge level continues to rise, it eventually reaches the outlet pipe, which is the absolute catastrophic tipping point.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is where a biological imbalance transforms into a staggering financial crisis.
The nightmare scenario.
When that thick, undigested sludge reaches the outlet baffle, it spills out into the drain field. And remember, those buried, perforated pipes and the surrounding soil pores are only designed to filter clear, treated liquid.
Not sludge.
Never sludge. When thick grease and heavy solids enter that network, they immediately clog the soil's natural filter, an area called the biomat. The soil physically seals shut and can no longer absorb moisture.
And if the liquid can't soak into the yard and the tank is full, the water only has one direction left to travel.
Backward, right back up the main sewer line, resulting in raw sewage overflowing into your bathtubs, showers, and floor drains.
Oh my.
And resolving a failed drain field isn't a matter of pouring a chemical down the sink. It often requires bringing heavy excavation machinery onto your property, digging up the yard, and completely replacing the subterranean infrastructure.
Which can cost tens of thousands of dollars.
Easily.
Okay, I want to pause here and play devil's advocate for the listener for a second, because those early symptoms can be tricky.
Sure.
Since these signs develop so gradually, how can someone definitively tell if they just have a minor everyday plumbing annoyance, like, a localized hair clog in a single shower, versus a total catastrophic ecosystem collapse out in the yard?
That's a really important distinction. The defining metric is whether the symptom is localized or systemic.
Okay.
If the guest bathroom sink is draining slowly, but the rest of the house is fine, you likely have a localized blockage in that specific P-trap, just a hair clog.
Right, simple fix.
However, systemic sluggishness, where the kitchen sink gurgles when you flush a toilet on the other side of the house, combined with those persistent foul odors wafting from multiple drains, that indicates back pressure from the main tank.
I see.
That is the glaring red flag that the underground ecosystem is failing.
So understanding the habits that destroy the system is really only half the battle. If we've already done the damage, we need to know how to actively restore that ecosystem. We have to shift from a reactive mindset, just waiting for a backup to happen, to a mindset of proactive biological support.
And behavioral modification is the necessary first step.
Stop doing the bad stuff.
Exactly. The guide strongly advocates for transitioning to septic-safe, biodegradable cleaning products, drastically reducing the use of bleach, pacing water usage to avoid hydraulic overloading, and maintaining strict household rules about never flushing non-biodegradable synthetics.
Stopping the act of destruction is great. The source material goes further. It points to a specific biological intervention to actively rebuild the dead ecosystem.
Yes, it does.
They highlight a product called SEPTIFIX. And honestly, reading the claims in the guide, I approached it with a healthy dose of skepticism.
Understandable.
Because the premise is that you drop a single tablet down the toilet once a month, and it somehow rehabilitates this entire massive, buried concrete tank. It sounds almost too simple to be true. What is actually happening chemically and biologically when this tablet hits the wastewater?
The guide details a very specific three-pronged mechanism of action for the SEPTIFIX tablets.
Okay.
According to the authors, once the tablet travels down the pipes and enters the tank, it slowly dissolves and releases a massive concentration of beneficial bacteria, natural cleaning agents, and most crucially, oxygen.
No, wait, I have to stop you right there.
Sure.
Because this seems like a massive biological contradiction. Earlier in our deep dive, you specifically described the septic tank as a naturally oxygen-depleted environment.
I did.
It's buried underground and sealed. So if this tablet is actively releasing oxygen into the sludge, isn't that fundamentally altering the natural environment of the tank? Why introduce oxygen?
That is an incredibly sharp observation, and it touches on the exact scientific mechanism the guide claims makes the product so effective.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. A standard septic tank relies primarily on anaerobic bacteria, meaning bacteria that survive without oxygen. The problem is that anaerobic digestion is inherently slow, and it is the exact process responsible for producing those foul-smelling sulfur gases.
So by adding oxygen, the tablet is changing the rules of the game.
According to the source material, yes. The oxygen released by the dissolving tablet intentionally shifts the environment to support aerobic bacteria.
Oxygen-loving bacteria.
Precisely. Aerobic bacteria are vastly more efficient, often up to 20 times faster at breaking down dense organic matter and sludge than their anaerobic counterparts. Furthermore, aerobic digestion doesn't produce hydrogen sulfide as a byproduct.
Oh, wow.
Which means it digests the waste without generating the foul odors.
So what does this all mean? If we look at the guide's overarching thesis, it's suggesting that introducing this monthly biological boost is essentially buying a low-cost insurance policy for your extremely high-cost drain field.
That's the core argument.
I keep coming back to the medical analogy. Imagine you just finished a heavy round of broad-spectrum antibiotics for a nasty infection. Your doctor almost always advises you to take a daily probiotic afterward, to intentionally reintroduce the good bacteria into your gut biome.
Because you've wiped out everything.
Exactly. Based on the source material, this tablet aims to act as that targeted monthly probiotic for your home's digestive system, counteracting the daily doses of bleach and antibacterial soaps we flush away.
This raises an important concern, though, far beyond just plumbing maintenance.
What's that?
It highlights a massive paradigm shift currently happening in how we view modern homeownership. For decades, the standard approach to waste management was entirely reactive. If it isn't backing up into the house, don't worry about it.
Right. Just ignore it.
But the guide argues strongly that we must move away from crisis management and toward a model of natural preventative stewardship.
We are finally acknowledging that these beneficial bacteria aren't just a nice environmental bonus. They are the absolute non-negotiable foundation of our infrastructure.
Exactly. If the biology fails, the mechanics fail shortly after.
Wrapping this all up, the most striking takeaway from reading this guide is the sheer interconnectedness of it all. The bacteria out in your yard, buried beneath a few feet of topsoil, might be completely invisible to you, but they are the guardians of your home's sanitation.
Without that microscopic workforce tirelessly breaking down our waste, the modern conveniences of running water, dishwashers, and indoor plumbing would become unmanageable health hazards within a matter of weeks.
Maintaining that delicate bacterial balance, whether you achieve it by totally overhauling your family's cleaning habits, pacing your water usage, or proactively utilizing a biological intervention like the SEPTIFIX treatment the guide recommends is undeniably the smartest, most cost-effective investment you can make in your property's long-term viability.
Because in the realm of wastewater management, preventative biological support is always infinitely cheaper than a mechanical repair involving excavation equipment and raw sewage.
So true. So, to you, the listener, the next time you're scrubbing your shower with harsh chemicals or running 3 loads of laundry back to back or simply washing your hands, remember that you aren't just making dirt and grime magically go away.
There is no way.
Right. Every single time you open a tap or flush a drain, you are actively interacting with and feeding an incredibly delicate living underground ecosystem.
Which leaves us with a rather profound thought to consider long after this deep dive ends.
Lay it on us.
If our home's most critical foundational waste systems rely so heavily on actively cultivating the right microscopic life, what other invisible ecosystems in our modern daily lives are we inadvertently destroying in our relentless, obsessive quest for chemical cleanliness?
Oh, that's a great point.
And how much might our lives, our environments, and our overall health improve if we started intentionally designing our habits to work collaboratively with bacteria rather than constantly viewing them as an enemy to be eradicated?
It really reframes how you look at the cleaning aisle in the grocery store. Keep that invisible workforce fed and happy, and you'll hopefully never have to see your plumbing turn into an expensive nightmare. Thanks for joining us to unpack the hidden biology beneath our feet.